Hello, everyone. Welcome to another podcast episode, another Sunday Zoom meeting. So let's get straight into it. Let's go to the Blue Book and take some passages. So this is from chapter 20, section 8, paragraph 7. But vision sets all things right, brings them gently into the kindly sway of heaven's laws. What if you recognized this world is an hallucination? What if you really understood you made it up? What if you realized that those who seem to walk about in it, to sin and die, attack and murder and destroy themselves, are wholly unreal? Could you have faith in what you see if you accepted this? And would you see it? So, do you think that passage is directed towards Keith? Do you think Keith made up the whole world? No. Keith is part of what I, a mind, made up. In the Course, Jesus says, there is no world. This is the central thought this Course attempts to teach. There is no world. There is the appearance of a world, but it's not real. And that means Keith's not real. Marsh is not real. Sparkle's not real. Eli's not real. Nothing's real. You made the whole thing up. And when I say you, I'm talking to the mind that made the whole thing up, which thinks it's you. You, the person, did not make the whole thing up. You, the mind that is now deluded that it is a person, you made all people up, including the one that you're deluded that you think you are. None of it's real. So let's read that again. Vision sets all things right, because this is what vision shows, that there's no one here. There is one present moment awareness appearing as everything and everyone, which you've made up, and it's still just the present moment awareness that you are in the Holy Spirit. That's vision. Vision sets all things right, bringing them gently within the kindly sway of heaven's laws. What if you recognized this world as an hallucination? What if you really understood you made it up? What if you realized that those who seem to walk about in it, to sin and die, attack and murder and destroy themselves, are wholly unreal? Could you have faith in what you see if you accepted this? And would you see it? Let's take another passage. This is from the preface to A Course in Miracles, what it says. When you, and I'm not talking to you as a person because there's no such thing as a person. I'm talking to you as the mind that's dreaming all the world. And there's only one mind dreaming itself to be everyone without ever ceasing to be the mind that it is. When you, mind, have been caught in the world of perception, you are caught in a dream. You cannot escape without help, because everything your senses show merely witness to the reality of the dream. God has provided the answer, the only way out, the true helper. It is the function of his voice, his Holy Spirit, to mediate between the two worlds. He can do this because while on the one hand, he knows the truth, on the other, he also recognizes our illusions, but without believing in them. It is the Holy Spirit's goal to help us escape from the dream world by teaching us how to reverse our thinking and unlearn our mistakes. What if you knew this world was a hallucination? So the Holy Spirit is aware of all the people that you, the mind, have made up, but doesn't believe in them. Doesn't believe in you, the person, because you're not a person. You are a mind that thinks it's a person, but that's just a figment of your dream. Nothing in a dream is true. So in A Course in Miracles, Jesus says, all temptation can be seen as the temptation to perceive yourself as a self that you're not. There is no world, there is no body, there is no insane voice talking to itself in your mind. That's your dream. It's not real, it's not true, none of it means anything. There are the appearances of a world and a body and an insane voice talking to itself that thinks it's a separate self in the dream. None of that's true. You made the whole thing up. You, the mind, made all that up. But now you've forgotten you're the mind that's dreaming this, and you think you're one of the characters in your dream. And now you think that the message of A Course in Miracles is for you, the dream character. How do I, the dream character, how do I have nicer thoughts? How am I going to have a better life? How am I going to have guidance? How am I going to be a good holy ego? The Course isn't addressed to you as a person. It's not addressed to an illusion. It is addressed to the mind that thinks it's you. And it's teaching that mind how to stop identifying as a person, how to stop identifying as one of the characters in its dream and know itself as the dreamer of the entire dream. Now, the massive temptation here when you hear something like this is for your ego to grab a hold of it and go, I, the ego, I've made all these people up. Look at them out there. None of them are real. But the one who's saying that isn't real. It's not you. Oh, you're real. People are not real. And you're not a person. So that passage, there is no world. This is the central thought the Course attempts to teach. Not everyone is ready to accept it. And each one must go as far as he can let himself be led along the road to truth. He will return and go still farther, or perhaps step back a while and then return again. This is very, very, very crucial to understand. The central thought this course attempts to teach is that there is no world. Yes, there's the appearance of one, but it means nothing because it's an illusion. It means nothing. Nothing in a dream is true, and nothing in a dream means anything because it's not true. Nothing. This is from chapter 10, The Idols of Sickness, section 1, At Home in God, paragraph 2. You are at home in God, dreaming of exile, but perfectly capable of awakening to reality. Is it your decision to do so? You recognize from your own experience as an imaginary person that what you see in dreams you think is real while you are asleep. Yet the instant you waken, you realize that everything that seemed to happen in the dream did not happen at all. You do not think this strange, even though all the laws of what you awakened to were violated while you slept. Is it not possible that you merely shifted from one dream into another without really waking? This world violates all the laws of heaven. There is separateness. There is sin, guilt, and fear. Otherness. There is death. None of these things exist. All of them violate God's laws. Every single one of them. And every single one of them means absolutely nothing because this is a dream. You are dreaming, and it means nothing. Nothing. The person you think you are means nothing. It doesn't exist because it's not what you are. Lesson 1 from A Course in Miracles. Nothing I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place, means anything. So, follow the directions of the lesson. Now look slowly around you and practice applying this idea very specifically to whatever you see. This table does not mean anything because nothing in a dream is true. This chair does not mean anything. Nothing in a dream is true. It doesn't mean anything. This hand does not mean anything. This foot does not mean anything. Nothing in a dream is true. This pen does not mean anything. Then look farther away from your immediate area and apply the idea to a wider range. That door does not mean anything. Nothing in a dream means anything. That body does not mean anything. That lamp does not mean anything. That sign does not mean anything. That shadow does not mean anything. Nothing means anything in a dream because nothing in a dream is true. Let's skip over to lesson 4. These thoughts do not mean anything. They are like the things I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place. So, what thoughts are going on in your mind? They don't mean anything. This is a dream. They mean nothing. What's your opinion on the weather? Means nothing. What's your opinion on different interpretations of the course? Means nothing. This is a dream. Nothing means anything. What's your opinion on the war in the Middle East? Doesn't mean anything. It's not real. The war in the Middle East isn't real. and your opinions on it, they're not real either. And they're not even your opinions. Because you're not a dream figure. You are the mind that's dreaming itself to be a dream figure. But nothing about the dream figure is true. And nothing about the dream world is true. Nothing means anything in a dream. In fact, that would be the very definition of lucid dreaming. So even within your dream of the world, where you're dreaming you're a person, and you dream that you sleep and dream, there is the phenomenon of realizing in the midst of the dream that you're actually dreaming. So lots of people have had that experience once or twice. Some people train themselves up for it. But it is possible in the midst of a dream that's happening, like getting chased by a monster, and you suddenly realize, actually, this is a dream. And then the monster doesn't mean anything. Nothing. It's the end of fear. Nothing means anything. And that's where A Course in Miracles is taking us. Because that's the real world, where nothing means anything. That's the doorstep to awakening from the dream to heaven. You, the mind that's dreaming the world. That's the real world. Nothing means anything. The dream figure's thoughts don't mean anything. And nothing in the dream means anything. And when there is that point of realization, there is just the mind that's dreaming the dream, not identified as any dream figure. That's the real world. One mind appearing as a world and thoughts and feelings and sensations that mean nothing, and never ceasing to be that same one mind. That's vision. That's Christ's vision. So it is so tempting with A Course in Miracles to think, I, the dream figure, I'm going to awaken. I'm going to be so fabulous as a dream figure. I'm going to be emptying the cemeteries and the hospitals, and everyone's going to think I'm fabulous. And I'm going to be out there showing other people how fabulous and holy I am, and how they can be fabulous and holy like me. And that's nonsense. That's a dream. Doesn't mean anything. Because when you realize that you're not the dream figure, that the thoughts and feelings in your mind are not you, you are what everyone is. Now. It doesn't matter what the thoughts and feelings are in your mind. They don't mean anything. Doesn't matter what your body's doing. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't matter what anyone else's body is doing. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't matter what the insane voice talking to itself in their mind is doing. It doesn't mean anything. None of it's true. It's an illusion. It's a dream. There is one dreamer of this dream, and that's everyone. Because there's no everyone. There's one mind dreaming itself to be everyone, which means nothing because it's a dream. And there's just the mind that's dreaming it. And when you know that's what you are, you know that's what everyone is. Now, again, The ego can grab hold of this philosophy very quickly and go, I'm the only one that's real here, but the one that's saying that isn't real. So instead, every single person I look at is the dreamer of the dream that is me. I'm not looking around at the dream figures going, you're not real and you're not real and you're not real, because the one that's doing that isn't real. But the Holy Spirit in me can see the Holy Spirit in everything and everyone and know this reflects truth in the dream. And nothing else. In the Course, Jesus says, unity alone is not a thing of dreams. And it is this God's teachers acknowledge behind the dream, beyond all seeming, and yet surely theirs. Unity alone, nothing except this oneness in the midst of the illusion of the dream, this knowing of oneness, that everything is the same. One mind's dreaming everything, and it means nothing, because the mind that's dreaming, its reality is completely unaffected by what it's dreaming. So when I'm coaching people, people will very often say to me, oh, I'm such a bad course student. I don't think I'm ever going to get this. I don't know how. Other people seem to be getting it much better than I am. I'm going to stop you there because you're not a course student. That's your dream. That's your dream. This course isn't addressed to course students. It's addressed to the mind that thinks it's a course student, telling it how to awaken to itself. Keith doesn't awaken because Keith doesn't exist. The mind awakens from the delusion that it's one of the characters in its dream called Keith. And what awakens to itself has nothing to do with Keith. So this is where A Course in Miracles is taking us. Oneness and sickness cannot coexist. God's teachers choose to look on dreams a while. Dreams that mean nothing. It is a conscious choice, for they have learned that all choices are made consciously with full awareness of their consequences. The dream says otherwise, but who would put his faith in dreams once they are recognized for what they are? Awareness of dreaming is the real function of God's teachers. They watch the dream figures come and go, shift and change, suffer and die, and they are not deceived by what they see. This is a dream. They recognize that to behold a dream figure as sick and separate is no more real than to regard it as healthy and beautiful. Because dream figures aren't real. It doesn't matter if they're sick in the dream, if they're healthy in the dream, if they're good guys in the dream, if they're bad guys in the dream, they're not real. There are no people here. There is no life in the dream, and there's no death in the dream. What never lived can't die. They recognize that to behold a dream figure as sick and separate is no more real than to regard it as healthy and beautiful. Unity alone is not a thing of dreams, and it is this God's teachers acknowledge as behind the dream, beyond all seeming, and yet surely theirs. Let's take another passage. So we've done lesson one. Nothing in the dream means anything. Nothing. Zip. Nada. Nothing your mind is doing means anything. Nada. Zip. Nothing. It's an illusion, and illusions mean nothing. Lesson 52. I have no private thoughts, because you're not a dream figure. You think you're a dream figure, and you think the thoughts you're thinking are real, and that you, the one that's thinking them, are real. But this is a dream. You are dreaming. I have no private thoughts, yet it is only private thoughts of which I am aware. What can these thoughts mean? They do not exist, and so they mean nothing. Yet my mind is part of creation and part of its creator. Aha, here's reality outside the dream. Would I not rather join the thinking of all the universe, that's God's creation, it's a symbol in the Course, than to obscure all that is really mine with my pitiful and meaningless private thoughts? Do you know, it's worth, let me see if I can dig out one more quote just to push the boat out. Yeah, I do have it. Sorry for the radio silence. Okay, this is important. The miracle establishes you dream a dream and that its content is not true. This is a crucial step in dealing with illusions. No one is afraid of them when he perceives he made them up. I, Keith, have not made any of the illusions up. I, the mind that is dreaming itself to be the entire world, have made up all the illusions that mean nothing, and Keith is one of those illusions. And so are you. There's only one mind here, dreaming itself to be everything and everyone, and there's no everything and everyone. There is no world. That is the central thought this course attempts to teach. There's no one here. There is one mind appearing as everything and everyone, but there's no everything and everyone. And that mind is still, if you like, metaphorically, safely in bed sleeping in heaven. So the miracle establishes you dream a dream and that its content is not true. So we're going to use what we're talking about today to tweak our forgiveness practice. And I want you just to ask yourself, my forgiveness process, does it establish that I dream a dream? So we're going to be tweaking that in a bit. The miracle establishes you dream a dream and that its content is not true. This is a crucial step in dealing with illusions. No one is afraid of them when he perceives he made them up. If you realize you've made up all the illusions, then you're no longer thinking you're a person, because that's what you made up as well. The fear was held in place because he did not see he was the author of the dream. All of it. World War I, World War II, the war in the Middle East, all that's happening in the world of politics, all the violence in the world and the misery and everything else. You made it up. Not you, the person, you made that up. You're not in your dream. You're safely in bed dreaming of exile in a world you made up. The fear was held in place because he did not see he was the author of the dream and not the figure in the dream. Does your forgiveness practice establish that you are not the figure in your dream? Or are you the figure in the dream trying to be a holy dream figure, trying to be a happier dream figure, trying to be an enlightened dream figure, trying to be a dream figure that will wake up to some mythical existence? But there's no dream figure. It's not you. He gives himself the consequences that he dreams he gave his brother. And it is but this the dream has put together and has offered him to show him that his wishes have been done. You did this. This was your wish. All of it. You, the mind, not the person. There's no such thing as a person. You are the author of all of this. There is one mind. When I say you, I'm talking to the one mind that's dreaming all of this. That's what you are. And that's what the miracle establishes. And for you to awaken from your dream of death, which means nothing, which isn't true, nothing means anything, not your dream of death, not any of the dream figures, nothing they're thinking or doing or saying, none of it means anything. And for you to awaken from this dream, you have to realize none of it means anything. The world doesn't mean anything. And the thoughts you have that you think are yours about the world that you made up, they don't mean anything either. So this is the good news of A Course in Miracles, where Jesus tells us, I need do nothing. Dream figures think they have to do something, but you're not a dream figure. You don't have to do anything. Except projecting a meaning onto what has no meaning. That's the real world. The world with no projection of meaning onto the meaningless. The world is just what's apparently happening. The mind of God's one holy innocent Son is appearing as a world which means absolutely nothing, and it's still the holy innocent mind of God's Son. What it is the holy mind of God's Son. What it's not is what it's appearing as. What it's appearing as means nothing. And so everything in the dream is holiness, only appearing as something which means nothing, and it's all still holiness, and you are that. But you this mind within which the world is happening, by which the world is known, out of which the world is made, think you're one of the figures in your dream, and you can't see the light anywhere. Because as long as you think you are a body and an insane voice talking to itself that thinks the world is real and thinks it was born and thinks it's going to die, as long as you think you're that, you can't see the light of the one holy, innocent mind that's only appearing as all of this and never ceasing to be one innocent, holy mind. So let's try and make this useful in terms of our forgiveness process. There is a world that is just what's apparently happening in your dream happening now. And it means nothing. However, the guilt in your mind, once you've made a decision to align with the ego, which is separateness, this is the dream of separateness. And once you decide, I'm one of the separate pieces in this dream of separateness, now there's no separateness. This is a dream of separateness. There's no such thing as separateness. There's just oneness. But in your dream of broken pieces, as long as you think you're one of the broken pieces, well, that's ego identification. And A Course in Miracles isn't talking to the broken piece. It's talking to the mind that thinks it is a broken piece and saying, that's not what you are. The world doesn't mean anything. Those thoughts that appear to be happening there, they don't mean anything either. And if you look on the whole thing, realizing none of it means anything, you can awaken. But you have to stop projecting meaning onto things that don't mean anything. Now, the ego hears this, and the ego says, okay, I have to look at the world, and I have to make sure I'm not putting a meaning on the world. I got to think happy thoughts. Oh, look at these bad thoughts I'm having. I need to change these thoughts. Oh, look at the way I'm projecting onto this. How do I fix it? What's my forgiveness formula? How do I do it? Flypaper. That's not what the Course is saying. Really see if you can understand what I'm saying today, because it's going to change everything. Everyone tries to do A Course in Miracles thinking they are the insane voice talking to itself in their mind. How do I, the insane voice talking to itself, have less hateful thoughts? How do I, the insane voice talking to itself, how do I have holy thoughts? How do I, the insane voice talking to itself, how do I move from anger to forgiveness? That's the trap. Because the insane voice talking to itself means nothing. It's an illusion. This is a dream. None of it's true. You're not a dream character in your dream. You're the one dreaming all of it. But you think you're one of the dream figures in your dream. And when you do, you'll think you are the insane voice talking to itself, trying to be a holy, insane voice talking to itself. This was the point of our last podcast when we talked about Sherlock Holmes. Everyone does forgiveness going, how do I, Sherlock Holmes, how do I do forgiveness and awaken to my real identity as Keith? But Sherlock Holmes doesn't exist. And I already am Keith. You, the person, don't exist. And you already are the mind that's streaming the whole world. So that's what we mean when we talk about flypaper. Oh my God, look at these awful thoughts that are going on in my mind. Jesus, please take them off me. Holy Spirit, take them off me, please. What's my forgiveness formula? How do I do it? Why is it not working? I need to tweak my forgiveness formula. Someone give me a new forgiveness formula. It's not working. Course in Miracles doesn't work. flypaper. Because that voice isn't you. It means nothing. It's an illusion. It's part of the dream. It means nothing. So forgiveness is, I'm walking down the street, I'm assaulted, I'm robbed, at least the dream figure is, okay? And up comes terror and pain and anger and, oh my God, I'm such an innocent victim and those awful people and I can't believe they've done that. Okay. And then we go, oh, the voice that's saying this, let me change what I'm saying to myself. No. No. No, that doesn't establish you as the author of the dream instead of one of the dream figures in it. Here's what forgiveness is. The body is walking down the street, the body gets assaulted, the body gets robbed. All the insane voice talking to itself in my mind that means nothing is going, oh, I can't believe it. This stuff always happens to me. I'm always the innocent victim. Look at my injuries. How could they do it to me? Why are people such bad people? Okay. Forgiveness is, I look at what's happening in the world, which means nothing. And I look at what the insane voice talking to itself in my mind is doing, which means nothing. I realize that the world is happening and it means nothing. But even though that's the case, there is an imaginary insane voice talking to itself that is putting a meaning onto what means nothing. And that means nothing. There's a dream happening where one body is assaulting another body. And part of the dream is that one body is going, oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm always the victim. And look at me and God, I'm so hard done by. And behold my pain. And I can't believe it. And why are people so awful? And that's part of the dream. And you're the one who's dreaming the whole thing. You're dreaming yourself to be the victim and the victimizer. You wrote the whole play. Then you forgot you wrote the whole play and started pretending to be one of the characters in your play, feeling like an innocent victim of what the other characters are doing to him. And you've written the whole thing. So the body gets assaulted, it gets robbed. The insane voice talking to itself is like, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. And forgiveness is still and quietly does nothing. It merely looks and waits and judges not. Does that sound like how do I, the insane voice talking to itself? Oh, these are awful thoughts I'm having and I'm feeling so bad, and Holy Spirit make them better, and Jesus make them better and take them off me and show me how to be a holy ego. Is that what that sounds like? No. Forgiveness is still and quietly does nothing. It merely looks and waits and judges not. So there is a world that I understand means nothing. And there is this insane self that thinks it means something. And I'm going to allow all of that to be exactly what it is. And I'm going to do nothing. If I say, oh, look what the insane voice in my head is doing, this is unholy and I need to make it holy, I'm still projecting meaning onto something that has no meaning. oh, look at these awful thoughts in my mind. I need to change these thoughts. You have decided the illusion means something, and you will remain stuck in illusion. Oh, what's my forgiveness formula? How do I choose the Holy Spirit? How do I choose against the ego? You've just projected meaning onto something that means nothing, and you will stay stuck. Forgiveness is still and quietly does nothing. It looks and waits and judges not. When you look at the world that means nothing and look at the insane voice talking to itself in your mind that's judging it, and you look at that and you don't project any meaning onto it, it doesn't mean you're a bad course student. It doesn't mean you're failing the course. It doesn't mean that you're behind everyone else. It doesn't mean something awful is true and you need to fix it. There is nothing to fix. You can't fix an illusion. There is nothing wrong with an illusion, and it can't be fixed. If you're trying to fix an illusion, you're making it real. You're saying this dream is true and God is not. I am what I'm dreaming myself to be and not what I am as God created me. If you're trying to do anything with ego, thoughts, and feelings that mean nothing, you have decided they mean something. And you're stuck in the flypaper. Nothing means anything. Yes, there's a world happening. It doesn't mean anything. Yes, there's an insane voice in your head with an opinion on everything. It doesn't mean anything either. And when you behold a world that doesn't mean anything, and the insane voice talking to itself in your mind that's insisting everything means loads of different things, and when you look at that, what that voice is doing, without saying it's bad, without saying I need to change this, without saying I need to fix this, that's still projecting meaning. If you can understand this today, this is the hardest thing for me to teach people. As Kenneth Wapnick would say, the right mind is a non-judgmental observer of the wrong mind. It's not trying to fix it. This is the trap. This is the flypaper. Why would you fix an illusion? That's the trap. That means you cannot experience the holy instant, because the holy instant is simply looking at illusions without putting any meaning on them. But everyone's busy trying to fix themselves. These thoughts I'm having, they mean this is bad. And they mean I need to have different thoughts. And they mean I need to have them removed by Jesus or the Holy Spirit. That's meaning. That's judgment. If you can grasp this today, you are going to bring your course practice to another dimension. You don't have to do anything with the thoughts and feelings in your mind because they're an illusion. And the only problem you have is that you think they're yours. You think I'm the one with these thoughts, so I'm the one that needs to change these thoughts. I'm the one who's going to judge them and Projecting meaning that these are bad thoughts, these are unholy thoughts, and how do I have holy thoughts? You're in the flypaper. No. Forgiveness is still and quietly does nothing. It looks and waits and judges not. So there's a world happening and it means nothing. And there's an insane voice in my head, which is looking at the world that means nothing and saying it means lots of different things. And I'm going to look at all of that without saying it's bad, without justifying it, without judging it, without trying to fix it, without trying to change it, without asking that it be changed. Let all things be exactly as they are. You don't have to do anything with an illusion. That's flypaper. The world means nothing, and the voice in your head and its thoughts and its feeling, they mean nothing. They're not bad. This is the problem. Everyone's going, these are bad. No, you're projecting a meaning onto them that they don't have. They're an illusion. Let me take something out, eh? A dream of judgment came into the mind that God created perfect as himself. And in that dream was heaven changed to hell, and God made enemy unto his son. How can God's son awaken from the dream? It is a dream of judgment. So must he judge not, and he will waken. Now, the ego grabs a hold of this and going, I, the separate self, I, the body with a story, I need to stop judging. That's the trap. You think Jesus is talking to a dream figure. No, there's no dream figure. He's talking to the mind that thinks it's a dream figure, but it's not. And he's giving you he's giving you, the mind, a course so you can awaken from the delusion that you're a person to your reality as the mind that's dreaming everything. So A Course in Miracles is not saying, oh, you have to change what the voice in your head is doing. That's the trap. That's how you stay identifying as a dream figure, an ego, an imaginary separate self in your dream. That's not the miracle. The miracle isn't, look at all these awful thoughts in my mind and now I'm going to turn them into fabulous thoughts and look at me, I'm such a holy separate self. No, there's no such thing as a separate self. So you don't have to do anything with the thoughts and feelings in your mind. All the hatred and the judgment and the murderousness and the jealousy and the competitiveness and the insecurity and the self-loathing and the inadequacy, do not touch it. Do not try and fix it. You can't fix an illusion. None of that means anything because it's not true. If you're busy trying to fix that, you are still judging. It is a dream of judgment. So must he judge not, and he will awaken. Not the dream figure. The dream figure is always going to judge. Not the insane voice talking to itself in your mind. That's always going to judge everyone. Don't try and fix that. Don't try and turn the insane voice in your head into something holy. It's unholy, but it doesn't exist, so it means nothing. All you have to do is look at the thoughts and feelings that are happening and not judge them, not project a meaning onto the meaningless. When you do that, you become one with the Holy Spirit. As a decision-making mind, you are either one with the ego, imagining yourself to be a figure in your dream, or you are one with the Holy Spirit. And that means you are a non-judgmental observer of the world and the insane voice talking to itself in your mind that isn't you. So when you look at what the world is doing that means nothing and what the insane voice in your head is doing, projecting a meaning onto the world that it doesn't have, and you look at that without saying it means something, because it means nothing, because it's an illusion, because it's not you. If you look at it without saying it means something, without projecting a meaning onto it, you are one with the Holy Spirit as pure present moment, non-judgmental awareness. And now correction will be automatic. The undoing of sin, the belief in sin, guilt, and fear and separateness, that's not something you, a person, do. The removal of sin, guilt, and fear and suffering, you as a person can't do that. The person, the belief in the person is the reason for the suffering. But you can look at the thoughts and feelings of the ego and not project meaning onto it. And when you do, you are the quiet center, the stately calm. The beauty is that when you look at the insane voice talking to itself in your mind that pretends to be you, without saying it's bad or it's good, you experience what you are that is not that mind. That's your identity in the Holy Spirit. And from this place, whatever sin, guilt, and fear is coming up to be healed, it will be healed by this looking without saying there's something wrong with what I'm looking at. There is nothing wrong ever with what you're looking at because it means nothing. There is nothing wrong with what's happening in the world because what's happening in the world means nothing. And there is nothing wrong with what's happening in your thoughts and feelings because they don't mean anything. It's the same illusion. And the minute you look on illusions without projecting a meaning onto them of good or bad or right or wrong or justifying or the minute you just simply do nothing and project no meaning onto an illusion, you experience the memory of what you are. That's no illusion in the Holy Spirit. Let the illusions rage. Let the awfulness and the murderousness and the self-loathing and the fear, let it rage without saying it means something. Now you are one with the Holy Spirit, the correction in the dream that says the dream is a dream and it's not true, and only God's oneness is true. The minute you look at what the voice in your head is doing and you don't say it means anything, you understand it's an illusion. It's not you. It's not you. Don't try and fix it or you think it's you. It's not you. If you look at it without saying it means something, because it doesn't, you automatically are one with the Holy Spirit, the correction for the dream in the dream. And from this place of looking at what thoughts and feelings are doing without saying they're bad, without saying they're awful, without saying, oh, it means they're awful and it means they need to change and it means I need a miracle and it means, no. Flypaper. You look at it and you don't project a meaning onto it. And if you're projecting a meaning onto it, look at that and don't put a meaning onto it. And if you're putting a meaning onto that, step back again and look at that and don't put a meaning on it. And the minute you're looking without putting a meaning on it, you are one with the Holy Spirit. And what you are as this quiet center, as this stately calm, is the truth of every single dream figure. Because you're not the insane voice talking to itself in your mind. You are not thoughts and feelings and sensations, and neither is anyone else. Behind thoughts, feelings, sensations, and stories, what I am is the truth of what you are behind thoughts, feelings, sensations, and stories. And thoughts, feelings, sensations, and stories are an illusion, which means nothing. That's unity. So again, with my forgiveness process, I am looking at what people are doing in the world, and then I notice what the insane voice in my head is finding fault with them and finding guilt and said they shouldn't be saying that, and that was very embarrassing and blah, blah, blah. And when you realize you think you are the voice in your head, you look at what the voice in your head is doing and you don't put a meaning on it. It's not sinful. It's not wicked. It's not failing the course. It's nothing. Because it's not you. When you realize the insane voice talking to itself in your mind is not you, that's your forgiveness practice, your miracle that shows you you're not the figure in the dream, but the author of the dream. You are only ever forgiving yourself. You're not forgiving other people. There's no other people. There's a world peopling. There's a mind worlding and peopling, and it means nothing because it's just a dream. You don't have to forgive it because it means nothing. What you have to forgive is the insane part of you that's putting a meaning on the meaningless. You don't have to fix that insane part of you. You don't have to change it. You don't have to try and turn it into a holy ego. That's the trap. You have to look at what the insane voice is talking to itself in your mind is doing and not put a meaning on it. And the minute you do that, you experience what you are. That is not the insane voice talking to itself in your mind. You experience the capital S self you are in the Holy Spirit, which is the memory of God and creation as one beingness. It's experienced in consciousness as I am, pure present moment awareness, a sense of being. And the minute you look at what the insane voice talking to itself in your mind is doing, what it's thinking, what it's feeling, and the minute you look at that without putting any judgment on it, the peace of what you are is here in the Holy Spirit. This is the hardest thing for me to teach people. Everyone is like, how do I, the insane voice talking to itself, fix the problem of myself and my misery? That's the trap. No, you look at the insane voice talking to itself and its misery, and you don't put any meaning on it. You join with the Holy Spirit, the felt sense of presence, present moment awareness is here, and you let the misery be there because it doesn't mean anything. If you let the misery be there and you don't put a meaning on it, that it shouldn't be there and I shouldn't be having it and I need to have it changed, if you just let the misery being there without saying it means something, now you've seen an illusion for an illusion. You haven't put meaning on an illusion, and the illusion has to collapse. But as long as you're looking at an illusion going, this is a terrible illusion, it's an awful illusion, it means I'm a bad course student and I need to fix it and I need to do something and I need to change it and I need to blah, 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 you're stuck. You're stuck. No. Forgiveness is looking at illusions without projecting a meaning onto them that they don't have. And illusions cannot stand then. Forgiveness is still and quietly does nothing. It looks and waits and judges not. When you see, the problem is everyone thinks they're the insane voice in their head. That's the trap. It's not you. It means nothing. All those opinions about the world and what people should do and shouldn't do and what they did to me in school and what blah, 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 that's not you. That's not you. That's a dream figure in the dream you dreamt, but it's not you. And you can experience what you are that's not a dream figure by looking at what the dream figure is doing and not putting a meaning on it. You're not trying to fix the dream figure. All you have to do is see that the dream figure isn't you. How do I do that? You look at the dream figure without putting a meaning on it. It doesn't mean anything. Okay, so I don't have any virtual hands in the air. So shall we have a look at the chat box? If anyone wants to put your hand up virtually, I will give preference to questions asked with a virtual hand up. But Eli, is there something in the chat box we can be getting on with?
Yes, we have a few things in the chat bot, but the first one, okay, so happy, this is from Jody. So happy to be here. Question, I'd love to hear more about what you did to heal your anxiety on the level of form. What was your ACIM process? When you felt anxious, you told yourself what? I thought I've been handling my problems, life crisis so well, so spiritually. However, I see now that I haven't healed them at the level of my mind. For the last 2 years after my teenage son's suicide attempt, and even though all is well now, I've been waking up in a state that can only be described as buzzing, anxious feeling in my entire body. I feel very unsettled and my head feels foggy, even though I'm often not actively worrying about anything at all. Once I partner with the Holy Spirit and remind myself that I'm not a body, sorry, I lost it. Once I partner with the Holy Spirit and remind myself that I'm not a body, I am one with God, perfectly safe at home, it does subside. But I still wake up with the same feeling the next day. And on some days, I have to repeat the process throughout my day because that unsettled anxiety and anxiousness arises again so quickly. It's wearing. Thank you.
Okay. So what you're saying is, when I identify as an ego, I suffer terribly. And when I undo my mistaken identification as an ego to identify as what I am in the Holy Spirit, my suffering subsides. But I want to know, how do I go back to being an ego and not suffer? That's the trap everyone's in. Everyone's practicing the course as a dream figure. And the dream figure is going, oh, Jesus, take this away from me. And Holy Spirit, take this away from me and remove my pain. And that's why Jesus says to Helen, do not ask me to take your fear away. Ask me for help with the conditions that have brought the fear about. Anytime you identify with the story that's going on in your mind that means nothing, and the world that's going on that means nothing, anytime you get lost in that, you're going to suffer. So Helen had anxiety all the time. She had terrible fear. She was completely obsessive compulsive and had to stick with routines and would become very stressed out. And she was saying to Jesus, Jesus, can you take my fear away? And he went, no, don't ask me to do that. Ask me for help with the conditions that have brought the fear about, and they always entail a willingness to be separate. So everyone's doing A Course in Miracles going, I, the separate self, am suffering terribly. Let me join with the Holy Spirit and let this diminish my pain. And then I'm going to go back to being a separate self and there's more pain here. And I'm like, why did it not work? You cannot identify as separate and not be in pain. Because we made up pain to protect separateness in our dream. Doesn't mean anything. Okay, but the minute the dream started, we were like, this separateness lark seems a little bit dodgy. So we actually made up sin, guilt, and fear, which is the source of all pain, to protect separateness. It says, God is non-duality. I am now separate from God. If that's true, God was murdered, because either non-duality is true and there's just oneness, or otherness is true, and that means non-duality is dead. God's dead. So we found ourselves in the dream going, I'm separate, but we kind of knew this was a bit dodgy. And so we made up a story. This is the one mind, made up a story and went, we murdered non-duality, God. Otherwise, how could I be a separate self? I couldn't be. No, I'm not. This is a dream. Only God is real. Okay, but we made up this story that non-duality, if there's now duality, if there's self and other, if there's me and God, that means God was murdered. He has to have been, because I believe I'm separate. But this is a dream. So we made up the story and we went, God was murdered. That's a sin. Now I am stuck with this enormous guilt because I've destroyed love to be a me, to be separate. And I'm terrified that God's going to come back from the dead to murder this separateness abomination to restore his non-duality. We made that up. We made up all that pain. And so the minute I decide I'm Keith, I am the figure in the dream, I plunge into the sin, guilt, and fear thought system of the ego, and I suffer. And then I deny it and I split it off and I project it out and I go, those events did it to me. Those people did it to me. But it didn't. I chose to be separate. Do not ask me to take your fear away. Ask me for help for the conditions that have brought the fear about, and they always entail a willingness to be separate. And so our miracle process is that I notice suffering. That means I think I'm the dream figure in my dream. I believe separateness is real. I believe the dream is real and God is not real. I believe in an illusion of myself and I'm suffering terribly because of it. So the minute suffering happens, you know the conditions that have brought the suffering about. You've decided to be separate. Now, Jesus, who is just a symbol for the Holy Spirit, so the Holy Spirit is saying, through the metaphor of Jesus, ask me for help to undo the conditions that have brought the suffering about. So how do I do that? I look at my mistaken identity and I don't say it's bad. I don't say it's sinful. I don't say it's a problem. I look at the suffering of the dream figure and I don't put any meaning on it. It's an illusion. You're not a dream figure. The voice in your head is not you. The past and the future stories in your mind are not real. Nothing in the dream is real. The miracle establishes you dream a dream and its content is not true. The voice in your head is not you. If you choose to identify with the voice in your head, you'll suffer. And the Holy Spirit is saying, look at what the voice in your head is doing without condemning it. Look at what the voice in your head is doing without saying it's bad, without saying it needs to change, without saying it needs to fix. And you will feel my peace in the quiet center. And as we look on your mistaken decision to be the insane voice talking to itself, once you don't put meaning on it, you will feel what you are in me, and suffering will be undone. But this is not saying, how do I, the dream figure, be less anxious? This is saying you're anxious because you think you're a dream figure, but if you look at the dream figure without putting a meaning on it, you experience yourself as what looks. And that's the correction. That's all you do. Once you join with the Holy Spirit, that's the correction principle. Everything gets corrected from there and you don't have to worry about it. You've one job. Look at suffering without putting a meaning on it. It's an illusion. Suffering is an illusion. We made it up to protect separate identity, dream identity. Look on it without saying it means something, and it will collapse as the illusion that it is. But all you have to do is look on it without saying it's bad, without saying it needs to be fixed, without saying this needs to change, without saying, oh my God, what's my forgiveness formula? How do I get rid of it? That's the trap. You've projected meaning onto it. So you're nowhere near the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is just a phantom, a fantasy in your mind. You can only join with the Holy Spirit when you look on illusions without putting a meaning on them. And the voice in your head is an illusion. And the sin, guilt, and fear that's bubbling inside of us is an illusion. And all you have to do is look on it without putting a meaning on it. And you get to identify as something that's not that big mess of thoughts and feelings and stories and emotions and sin, guilt, and fear. You are what looks. So you see, when you ask me, what did you do about your anxiety? I did nothing about my anxiety. I followed this forgiveness process of Kenneth Wapnick exactly as was taught. I looked at my anxiety and I knew it was an illusion. And I said, what does it have to do with the love and peace of the Holy Spirit in my mind? Yes, there is anxiety happening in my wrong mind, but what does it have to do with the me that's in the cinema with Jesus? What does it mean to be in the cinema with Jesus? Looking at illusions without fighting them, without judging them, without saying they mean something, because an illusion is an illusion is an illusion. That's what I did. So it's a tribute to Ken's clarity that I got that. So when I really started throwing myself into the practice of A Course in Miracles, I wasn't doing it to fix my anxiety. People keep saying to me, oh, how do I do A Course in Miracles to fix my anxiety? I'm going to go, and I say to them, listen, if that's what you want, go see a psychiatrist, get some medication, go do counseling. That's not what A Course in Miracles is for. If you want to fight your anxiety and fix your anxiety, that's not A Course in Miracles. But do you want to wake up? Do you want to realize that this dream has no power over you whatsoever? That you are birthless and deathless? That's what A Course in Miracles is about. So spirituality was always the most important thing in my life. It was my driving passion from I was a teenager. It was all spirituality books and past life regression and other worlds and magic and blah, 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 and spirituality and Buddhism and Hinduism and everything else and Christianity and Christian mysticism and non-judgmental. And I was driven by it. It was the most important thing in my life. Then there was a wacky period in my life where I went off the rails. Lucky to be alive. And then there was anxiety. And the anxiety stopped everything. There was no more sense of the Holy Spirit's presence in my mind. There was no more, I wouldn't have called it, I would have said God's presence. It was like, I'm in nature, I can feel God's presence. This is the most important thing in the world. Once the anxiety hit, that was gone. There was no peace in my mind. There was no stillness in my mind. There was this awful anxiety, which was just like a radio that went constantly in the back of my mind. And so when I reached my there must be a better way moment, it was not there must be a better way and I need to get rid of my anxiety. That was not my road to Damascus. My road to Damascus was I will know my right mind, anxiety be damned. I will know what I am. I will know what is in the cinema with Jesus. I will know what it is that looks without judgment. That I will know. And that got rid of the anxiety. If you're trying to get rid of anxiety, you have projected a meaning onto something that means nothing, and you'll never get rid of it. But if you're learning to look at the anxiety without projecting a meaning onto it, you will awaken to the light of the world that you are in your mind, the light that we all are together, and that will cure your anxiety. So I hope that helps. It is, again, and thanks for the question, because that's the crucial thing. Everyone is going, how do I, the dream figure, feel better about being a dream figure? You feel crap because you think you're a dream figure. You can't be a happy dream figure. No, you can't identify as the insane voice talking to itself with a past and a future, and there's no happiness there. That's damnation. That's hell. The hell you're dreaming. But it doesn't mean anything. All you have to do is look at your mistaken identification going, but that means nothing because it's an illusion. And what is it that's looking at an illusion as an illusion? It's the Holy Spirit. It's the light of the world. It's the answer to the dream of misery, the dream of death, sin, guilt, and fear. The dream is just a dream. It doesn't mean anything. And when I look at what doesn't mean anything and don't put meaning on it, including the voice that's putting meaning on it, I just look at that and don't put meaning on it. I experience what I am that's independent of all of that. In lesson 70, Jesus says, now we will try again to find the light in you, which is your salvation. It is not among the clouds, and it is there. You have been looking for it. It's not there. So you see, when we're busy in the clouds of anxious thoughts and woeful thoughts, and how do I fix them and how do I change them, and asking your thoughts, what's the answer and what's the course formula and what do I do intellectually? Jesus is going, it's not in the clouds. That's where you're looking for it. It's not there. It's beyond the clouds. Well, how do I experience what I am beyond thoughts and concepts? I look at them without projecting any meaning onto them. And what's looking? So I hope that helps a little bit. We do have a hand up. So Bernadette, I said I would give precedence to people who raise their hand virtually. So knock yourself out.
At first I was going to say I don't even know what to ask, because anything that I'm going to ask, it's already been answered, and it's just very paradoxical. I already I was wondering if you can speak to something that is still kind of popping up, and not that I want you to put meaning to it. I don't even know how to ask it. Let me see.
Just spit it out, Bernadette. We won't judge it because
Okay,
it doesn't mean
okay.
anything.
Right. It's more about emotions, and not the meaning to the emotions, but the rising of the emotion is coming up as energy. Whatever seems to be happening out here, or whatever I actually maybe give meaning to, because the interpretation I give into. Is there any any meaning to that? I guess, I don't even know how to ask this because it's very paradoxical, but I do notice anything that seems to be happening, even the previous question that was asked, what the content was behind it, it was just energy coming up as an emotionality in me. Is that any kind of reflection? Let me just ask it that way.
Okay, so emotions aren't a problem. But the idea that I shouldn't be having this emotion, that's the problem. That's the only problem. So within the dream, this mind that's dreaming dreamt up sin, guilt, and fear to make the dream seem real. The dream of separateness that doesn't exist because only God is real and you're that. But within the dream of separateness, we were like, this seems a bit dodgy. Let's make up the story that we murdered non-duality to be these separate things, and that we need to be fearful of God coming looking for retribution. Okay, so that's the first thing we did in the dream. Now, what we did was we dreamt another dream within the dream. Okay, so the first secret dream is that this one mind, I have attacked God. I am a wretched thing that has destroyed love. I am sinful and guilty, and I need to be terrified of God coming to murder me. So this one mind now, and this is a dream, and this one mind now already within dream goes, let me create a new dream to protect me from this awful sin, guilt, and fear. So now a second dream runs within the first dream, which is the world. This mind makes up people, makes up animals and trees and plants and flowers and time and space and all of that, makes the whole thing up, forgets it's this first dream, the attacker of God, and starts pretending it's all the figures in its dream. So when this mind, this is the only mind that's here. When you find yourself identifying as a figure in your dream, as a dream figure, as Bernadette, then the world is the defense against the sin, guilt, and fear in your mind. So it will seem like the world does something and that awful feelings happen as a result of it. That's not true. The awful feelings are already in your mind, but what you're doing is you're getting rid of the guilt over it onto the world, which is why you made the world. So the first shield of oblivion, as soon as the dream happened, was, let me make up sin, guilt, and fear to bolster this dream identity. You know, feels a bit like a dream. Let me make it more real. I murdered God to be this separate thing because I had to, because either non-duality is true or duality is true. So I make up sin, guilt, and fear. That's the first shield that defends me from what I am as God created me, which is God. That's the first shield. And the second shield, or the first dream, the secret dream. And now I need a second shield, a second dream to protect me from the sin, guilt, and fear because it's too awful. Okay, so when we're wrong-minded, we find ourselves thinking we're one of the dream figures in the world's dream. And the world seems to happen, and exactly how I want it, the world can now be blamed for the sin, guilt, and fear in my mind. It's in the world, not in me. But there's only one mind here. So our forgiveness process has to be, the world doesn't mean anything because it's an illusion. It's a dream. It's not real. Okay. But there is all this emotion that's coming up. But all I have to do to circumvent this second defense against the truth of what I am, that the world did it to me, is not blame the world and allow the sin, guilt, and fear to be there in my mind. Now, this is where the holy ego goes. How do I get rid of the sin, guilt, and fear in my mind? How do I make this go away? How do I blah, 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 blah? Trap. You're still staying the dream figure. So no, the first step is the world doesn't mean anything. But look at this meaning, this sin, guilt, and fear in my mind. Now, that doesn't mean anything either. That doesn't mean anything because it's an illusion. But as long as you think it means bad things, as long as you think it needs to change, as long as you think I need to fight this or fix this or change this, you can't know it's an illusion. The minute you set out to fix your emotions, you have said, this is not an illusion. This is a problem. And by you setting out to fix a problem that doesn't exist, you perpetuate the problem of sin, guilt, fear, separateness. So ego thoughts and emotions are going to happen in the dream. So what? If you let them happen without saying they mean something, you experience the quiet center you are in the Holy Spirit. And that's how you wake up, by constantly coming back here. So I think I'm the insane voice talking to itself in my mind, the dream figure, I'm suffering terribly, it's all terrible, everyone's an asshole, blah, blah, blah. There you go, typical, that's where we're all at. And then you go, oh, hang on, that doesn't mean anything. Let me look at all of that for the illusion it is. How do I know it's an illusion? Let me look at it with no projection of meaning onto it. Now, the minute you look at what the ego is doing without projecting meaning on it, your identification as the insane voice talking to itself is weakened. and your identification as what looks is strengthened. So in the beginning, you might be like, I don't know, it feels a bit neutral. I don't know. It's because you need to keep practicing it. The only thing you need to perfect is looking at what the voice in your head is doing without putting meaning on it. That's all. You don't have to fix anything. Okay. So when it comes to thoughts and emotions, trying to fix them perpetuates your identity in them, perpetuates your suffering, perpetuates the dream.
It's almost like a desire, is it not? Like it feels like that's what I desire because I put so much attention on it, and I think I want it again. It's like it becomes and it's unescapable cycle.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's all flypaper.
Yeah.
That's why Jesus says, brother, take not one step on the stairway to hell, or you will not recognize all the rest for what they are, and they will follow. And what he's saying is, do not identify as the dream figure, the insane voice talking to itself in your mind, or everything you do afterwards to fix the problem of yourself and your misery will cement you further into illusion and misery. So you have to get the hell off the stairway to hell. How do you do that? You look at what your ego is doing without putting any meaning on it, because it's an illusion. And if you look at it without projecting meaning onto it, you will know it's an illusion. And you will come to know what it is you are in the Holy Spirit, which it's not the truth, but it reflects the truth of you in the dream. Does that make sense, Bernadette?
Yeah, I've been there, like I said, mentioned in a post, and it's just so much compassion.
Yeah. Okay, so this is not
Thank you.
about being a happy dream figure. Dream figures aren't happy. This is not about making your dream life better. Dream lives are shit. Everyone dies. Okay, but you're not a person. You're the one who's dreaming everything and everyone. You're birthless and deathless. That's your identity in the Holy Spirit in the dream. That's the quiet center. That's the light behind the clouds. That is what we are together in the Holy Spirit. Okay, that's the unity alone that's not a thing of dreams. Okay, that's the only place there's happiness. So my whole day is spent noticing, because my anchor point is the quiet center. Nothing my mind's doing means anything. Okay, but every so often, I'm going to leave the quiet center to go seeking for something in the dream. And then my job is to notice that and the lack of peace it's causing me and go back to the quiet center. And then I'm going to leave the quiet center to like judge someone or hate someone or like say what someone's doing is a problem. And I just notice that and I do nothing with it. And the minute I do nothing with it and I don't attach any meaning to it, yes, there's a livid voice in my head that's judging and going, the whole thing is bad. And I look at that and I don't put any meaning on it. And I'm back as the quiet center. That's my whole day. It's just coming back to the quiet. That's what a miracle is. You know, of course,
So
in
when you
miracles,
notice that,
go ahead,
sorry.
go ahead.
So when you're noticing those things that it seems to be a quotation more interesting, that's the personalization of the dream.
Yeah. All the happiness is in the quiet center.
Uh-huh.
That's the happy dream. So the happy dream has got nothing to do with what's happening in the world. Okay, Jesus was having the happy dream. The crucifixion is part of that happy dream. So what's a happy dream? A happy dream is knowing you're dreaming. So there's no fear. So for Jesus, the happy dream was, yes, there's a world. It doesn't mean anything. Yes, there's a body. It doesn't mean anything. What's happening to the body doesn't mean anything. And yes, there's a story about someone called Jesus with parents called Mary and Joseph, and that doesn't mean anything. That's the
So
happy
no
dream.
attachment. There's no attachment whatsoever. What seems to be happening anywhere.
Certainly,
No
that was his point. Yeah. So he
Mhm.
had gone as far as you could within the dream before awakening completely from it. Yes. For the rest of us, we're going to keep leaving the quiet center to identify as the insane voice talking to itself in our mind. The suffering will become excruciating, and we'll go out trying to solve the problem of ourselves by finding people and things to cannibalize to feel better about ourselves as an ego, or to find people to hate instead of ourselves. So when we notice either of those, we realize it means nothing. That's what a dream character is doing, but you're not the dream character. And so you look at what the dream character is doing and you don't put any meaning on it. And you're back to the quiet center, the stately calm. And you live your life from there. But you're going to keep making the dream real. Okay. And it's to keep remembering that you're dreaming. Miracle establishes you dream a dream and its content is not true. The miracle looks on devastation and reminds the mind that what it sees is false. My God, can you all see if you can really understand this today? The miracle looks on the devastation of the thought system of the ego and the emotions of sin, guilt, and fear associated with it. The miracle looks on that devastation and reminds the mind that what it sees is false. It doesn't try and fix it. It doesn't make it real and then try to heal it. The miracle looks on the devastation of your dream life. It looks on the devastation of the dream world you're dreaming. It looks on the devastation of the dream figure's thoughts and feelings and stories and emotions. And it reminds the mind that what it sees is false. How do we get to that? Look at it without judging it. Don't put a meaning on it. Don't say it's bad. It's nothing. A dream means nothing. How does the Son of God awaken? He must judge not, and he will awaken. It's a dream of judgment. Thanks, Bernadette. Belle,
Thank you.
the stage is yours.
Hi, it's not Bell actually, it's Robert.
I thought it was a funny name. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, Robert Ripley. I've sort of connected with
Oh,
you a few
wow,
times.
Robert, it's nice to meet you in person.
Yeah,
Go for it. Go for it.
thanks. Yeah. By the way, thank you very much for all your help over the last nearly a year now, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
So it's been really helpful. Thank you.
I'm glad.
I've come up with a sort of a what I consider to be slightly odd scenario, not slightly odd, no, odd, that for a few years I've been having what doctors have described as what are they? Well, it's mini strokes.
Yep.
And recently they've sort of got a little worse, and and I had a seizure which ended up in hospital, and it was quite serious. I could have, they sort of said, well, it's serious, you could have died, sort of thing. I was out cold, I didn't know what on earth was going on, and and all that sort of thing for a long time. And they've sort of it's been identified now that I've got something in my system which needs to be removed so that it doesn't continue. In other words, I've got to get rid of something that's in my system, which is mercury from my teeth. So I've got to get rid of it. So the idea is I have obviously been looking at it from this non-judgmental place, doing that. But the thought or the understanding that I could die if I don't do anything medically, and I've been using that idea, oh, it's okay to use magic. to fix things, take pills. They give you pills to take to stop because I obviously, well, not obviously, but I don't particularly want to leave my body right now. I'm having a good time. So I'm trying to sort of see it from the miracle point of view. And
well, the
I don't want to
miracle
leave my body.
establishes you dream a dream and its
I-
content is not true.
I do understand that. Yeah, I do. Well, I'm getting that bit by bit. I'm getting that. It's
Has-
I suppose the question is, if I don't do anything, if I don't follow the sort of medical procedure and do something, the next mini stroke could be the big one where I won't recover. That's the sort of, so I'm sort of, and they do happen quite often. They're a bit weird. I've had them for a long time. So I'm in a kind of a quandary of, well,
you're writing all this.
yeah, I'm writing it. Yeah.
You're not the character in it.
Yeah. I sort of understand that. Yes.
Okay. You are what is writing the war in the Middle East and writing what's happening in politics and writing what's happening in people are being born and people are dying. And you're the one that's streaming all of that. That's who you are.
Mm-hmm. And I've written the script to here. I've written the script to here now.
But it's very important. Robert didn't write the script. Robert is part of the script that you're writing.
Yeah.
So if you are the one that's making birth and death, can you die?
No, I know. I won't fit. My physical body will be gone, but spirit won't be gone. I'll be this. Well, I don't quite know how I'll be, but I'll be spirit. So I suppose it's
no. You see, no, that's the trap. You're spirit now.
Yeah, I was spirit now. Right, I understand that. Yeah.
Because the minute we go, well, I'm a body and I want to become spirit, no, that's nonsense. You are spirit. You're deluded that you're a body, but you are spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to learn. Jesus says, what could you not accept if you but knew that all things, past, present, and to come, are gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good, which is the Holy Spirit, which is your right mind, which is you, okay? The sane part of you. And so the Course also says it takes great learning to understand that all events are helpful. So you see, what you're doing is you're looking at the health situation and you're putting a meaning on it.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay. And as long as you do that, you'll suffer and you'll stay asleep. Okay. So if I want to stay asleep and I'm happy to suffer, then just do what the doctors are telling you and go through everything and whatever else. Just do that.
Yeah. Okay.
But A Course in Miracles isn't, oh, poor you, the dream figure. Here's A Course in Magic and how to change the dream so you can be a happier dream figure and never wake up to your true identity. That's not what A Course in Miracles is saying. A Course in Miracles is not saying, here's how you triumph over God by being happy in your dream of sin, guilt, fear, and death, despite throwing his love and oneness back in his face. Here's how you triumph over him by being a happy dream figure. It's not what the Course is saying. The Course is saying you have one problem. You think you are a dream figure. There is one solution to all the problems you think you have, because it's all the same problem. You think you're an illusion of yourself. And you don't have to think that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So like I say, when, because, we all have the sane and the insane part of us. So, for the insane part of you, do what the doctors are saying, and, use try to use meditation or relaxation to relax yourself and use creative visualization, use all that magic.
Okay.
But you could understand that these circumstances are a gift from the Holy Spirit that says you are not a figure in your dream.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you can use all of this to learn that you're not a body and that you are one with God for all eternity. You can use all of this to discover the quiet center, the stately calm within you, within the dream, and know the end of suffering
Mm-hmm.
and awaken from the dream of suffering.
Yeah.
Everything has purpose.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it
And
is helping me take more notice of watching my thoughts and
yeah, so just
being
watch them
much
and don't
more,
put any don't put any meaning on them.
yeah.
See, there's a body and there's the story of a body, and that doesn't mean anything because it's just fiction that you're dreaming. Okay, so it doesn't mean anything, right? And there's an insane voice talking to itself, and it's putting a meaning on the whole thing. And the insane voice is going, oh my God, I could die and I need to do this. And what if this happens? And this might be good and this might be bad. And what's my best case scenario? And the miracle says, none of that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I can choose peace instead of this. I can be peace instead of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm never upset for the reason I think. You are not upset about the circumstances of a body that means nothing. What's upsetting you is the meaning.
Mm-hmm. Well, strangely, I'm not sort of upset. Strangely, I'm not upset.
Good.
I'm sort of dealing with it and watching thoughts that are coming, which would like to get upset.
Yeah.
And I'm just able to sort of not take much, just let them go.
Well,
Or
whatever
observe
happens,
them for what they are and just let them be like that. And,
good. That's exactly
yeah.
what you do, because whatever comes is for the purpose of your awakening from the dream that you're a dream figure in your dream.
Yeah.
That's the purpose of everything that happens.
Yeah, I'm getting that sort of it's an interesting, yeah, it's interesting, I suppose, just to yeah, having yeah, it's okay. I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Yeah. What we want to do constantly is just realize we've left the stately calm to go mind wandering. What about this and what about that in my body and blah, 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 blah. And we come back to the quiet center, the stately calm. All is well.
Yeah.
Everything's always well there. And by noticing when we're making the dream real and coming back to the quiet center, once we're back in the quiet center, whatever sin, guilt, and fear is coming up is undone. And then we'll go mind wandering again, and the suffering will happen. And we just go back to the quiet center by looking at what the ego is doing without putting any meaning on it. It's not bad. It doesn't mean something's wrong. It doesn't mean something needs to be fixed. It's nothing. It's an illusion. And so we keep returning to the quiet center, and all the time, whatever sin, guilt, and fear is coming up is getting abolished by that. Now, that's the miracle. The miracle is the movement from fear to love. That's what the miracle is. So the Course says, okay, so you are the mind that's streaming the whole world. But, Robert is one of your perspectives of your dream. Okay. Robert doesn't exist. But if you pretend to be Robert, you see your dream from a certain perspective. Okay. Now, from that perspective of Robert, Robert, because Robert doesn't exist, have no control over the dream. Okay, because Robert is not dreaming the dream. He's one of the dream figures that you're dreaming in your dream. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But once you identify as Robert, Robert has no control over the dream. And that's why Jesus says this. This is a Course in Miracles. It's a required course. That does not mean everyone has to study A Course in Miracles. It says every apparent dream figure will awaken to the truth of themselves as the dreamer of the dream by means of looking at the dream without projecting meaning onto it. They might do that through Buddhism. They might do that through Hinduism. They might do that through God knows what. They may just, do that through their own efforts. It may happen spontaneously, but ultimately, ultimately, the one mind will awaken to itself from the delusion that it is all the dream figures. That's inevitable because it's actually already happened. Okay, so that's why it's a required course. Okay, because the pain of all the dream figures will become excruciating, and everyone will eventually go, there must be another way, and let me not make my dream real. And if you judge not, you the mind, not the person, you the mind will awaken from the delusion, the painful delusion that you're a person. Okay, so this is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. So you, a mind that's dreaming the whole world and deluded now that you're one of the figures in your dream, Robert, who is a perspective of your dream, Robert cannot elect what happens in his dream because he's not the dreamer of it. Okay. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. You are love. Okay, so there's no point in A Course in Miracles trying to teach Robert how to be love, because you already are love and Robert doesn't exist. Okay, so that's why the course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. So the blocks to your awareness that you are love, that's your identity outside the dream. But the blocks to your awareness of that is sin, guilt, and fear. That was our first block. And then the second block is the world we made to be the shield against the sin, guilt, and fear in our mind. So I, Keith, do not have any control over what happens in the curriculum. My only control is who I choose as my teacher. Is it separate identity in the ego, or is it awareness in the Holy Spirit? Forgiveness. Is it learning to look at illusions without putting a meaning on them? That's the only control over I have. So whatever's going to happen to this body in the dream is going to happen to this body in the dream. And this body has no control over that because this body is what's being dreamt, not what's doing the dreaming. However, the mind that thinks it's a body can awaken from the delusion it's a body if it looks at everything to do with the body without projecting meaning onto it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the importance of chapter 2, where Jesus says, the denial of the body is a particularly unworthy form of denial. Okay, so he's not saying, don't take medicine, don't pursue anything to do with that, just do what I'm telling you, it's all fabulous. He's not saying that. He's going, no, that's insane. See, this story about Robert's body and the medicine that he takes and the doctors, it's already written.
Yeah.
Like, there's actually no doer of it. Like, you're not the doer of any of this.
Right. I'm just watching it.
You are. And that's why Jesus says, for we but see the journey from the point at which it ended, looking back, imagining we make it once again, reviewing mentally what's gone by. Because the thing is, you're not Robert.
Okay.
When you think you're Robert, you'll suffer. But when you look at Robert without putting any meaning on Robert, you experience what you are that's not Robert. And what you are, everyone is. Now,
Yeah.
as you keep falling back to that place, that has a very powerful healing effect on your mind. You don't have to do anything to heal your mind. You only have to return to the quiet center by looking at the ego without saying it means anything.
Yeah.
That's all you do to join with the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit undoes everything. Now, that can mean amazing things happen in the world of the body.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you make that your goal, then you can't get that.
Right. I get it. I understand that.
Okay. So if you're like, I need a miracle so I can have a healthier body and I can stay a body and never awaken to myself as God created me and just triumph over him by being happy as a body and throwing heaven in his face. Again, how do I do the miracle for that? That's not going to work.
Yeah. I've just
Well,
got to observe the process of
yeah.
just following
When you
daily.
return to the quiet center,
Yeah.
everything's getting healed in a way that you don't even have to know about.
Okay. I understand that. Yeah.
And from that quiet center, it doesn't matter what happens in the body. It'll get well or it won't. But it has no effect on my peace.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
from that space where I acknowledge that the dream has no power over me, if I don't project meaning onto it, it has no power over me. And so I
Yeah.
embrace the peace that I am in the Holy Spirit. Everything starts to shift from there. And, and the Holy Spirit's in control of that, which is really you, except you think you're
Yeah.
not, right? um, and so can that have effects in the dream? Yes, it can.
Yeah.
But that's not the point.
Right. Okay.
And not always. Jesus was the image of Jesus's body, which had nothing to do with Jesus and meant nothing, was still crucified. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like Jesus went, oh, let me do the miracle and I'm in the quiet place and I'm in the quiet center and now I'll be rescued from the cross. No. Okay. He was in the
Yeah.
quiet center and nothing could touch him
Yeah.
because he
Okay.
wasn't the dream figure. Now, so sometimes that's going to have effects in the dream, but again, that's why I never teach it that way, because that's a whole wrong focus where it's like, I, the dream figure, need. No, you're insane. That's misery. That's hell. Look at your decision to be the dream figure without saying it means anything, and you experience what you are. That's not a dream figure. The quiet center, the stately calm, the felt sense of being, the present moment, non-judgmental awareness. And just abide there, or at least keep coming back home here. And each time you come back home here, your mind's getting healed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Robert. Best of luck
Thank
with
you.
everything. Cheers.
Okay. Thanks for have a good.
Lovely to meet you in person. Cookie.
Yeah.
Hi, Keith. Hi,
Hello.
everybody. You answered everything many times perfectly. Um, uh, 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 I now see that I rescue old dogs, and many of them have issues, and they have to have surgery, and they're sick. And I in the past I try to fix it. That's what I do. I'm a massage therapist. I actually try to help people fix their so it can this is interesting for me now. I don't try to fix anymore, and I realize I just get to choose how I see it.
That's all.
All I get,
That's
that's
all.
all. So you
Listen,
explained it perfectly.
if there's a story where the dream figure in your dream, Cookie, keeps rescuing dogs, that's what's going to play out in your dream. Your only job is to not take it seriously.
Right. I get it.
Okay, because
You
again,
explain.
yeah, because enlightenment doesn't mean Cookie goes away. It means you realize you're not Cookie.
But the dream, so this is where I can get, I have gotten confused in the past, because the dream continues.
Yeah.
We're still here listening today.
Yeah.
The dream is still happening.
Yeah, but yes, it is. And Cookie is part of that dream.
Okay.
So there's just one dream, and Cookie's a part of that one dream that's happening.
Right. But even though we get it that we're not going to judge, we're not going to, we're going to look at it from Holy Spirit perspective.
No. Cookie will always judge,
Yeah.
but you're not
Okay.
Cookie. You can look at
Okay.
Cookie without judging her, and you can experience what you are that's not a dream character.
Okay.
And you can now, knowing you're not the dream character, because the voice in your head means nothing. Okay, the voice in your head is what Cookie is. She's just a collection of thoughts, feelings, stories, and sensations, and that means nothing. This is all a dream, and it means nothing, right? So you don't have to do anything with that. The dream is going to
Okay.
continue. Cookie's a part of the dream. She's part of the unfolding atonement. She's part of how the mind is waking itself up with all its stories between dream characters, because that's all we are, is thoughts in the mind of the mind that's dreaming this. And you are the mind that's dreaming it, not the thoughts. But all people are just thoughts in the mind that is you, that's awakening to itself by means of the atonement. So Cookie's never going to stop judging. But you
Right.
can be aware that this is a dream, and there's a dream happening, and there's a dream, and Cookie's part of the dream, and Cookie's judgments are part of the dream. See, Cookie doesn't awaken. The mind awakens to itself from the dream that it's Cookie. So by you learning to be a non-judgmental awareness of the personal mind that isn't real, you're not trying to fix the personal mind. You're not trying to turn the personal mind holy. You're just realizing it's not you. You're what looks.
Okay. So don't try to, so I'm not going to say, I'm not going to forgive myself for judging. I'm going to choose again.
Because you see, judging is going to happen. And if you're
Right.
if you're saying, let me forgive myself for judging, you're saying it's
Right.
bad and I need to fix this. All you do is
Yes.
you look at the judging and you don't put any meaning on it because it's an illusion.
Okay.
But
Okay.
you must understand that the judging is an illusion. It doesn't exist. See, this is we all think we are the judger and that we're the guilty
Mhm.
judger and that we need to stop
Mhm.
judging. But that's nonsense. No, judging is just what's happening. Now,
Right.
if you look at the judging without putting a meaning on it, you experience what you are that never judges. Remember, the right mind is a non-judgmental observer of the judging mind.
Okay. Right. Yes. So just choose, I can choose ego or I can choose right mind. Those
But Cookie
are
can't.
really the
Cookie can't.
but
Cookie can't.
what?
Cookie is the wrong mind.
Oh, right. Yeah. So
You're the
let's see.
quiet center. You are awareness. You are being. You are stillness. You don't have to get rid of Cookie. Cookie's going to keep carrying on. You're the one
Okay.
that's not judging it. So the
Okay.
mind is going to keep doing what it's doing, and you just have to look at it and not put any meaning on it. And each time you don't see, you're going, I need to fix it, I need to change it. That's the trap. You don't have to do
Right.
anything with it. You have to
Yeah.
understand, but do understand this. The voice in your head, the thoughts and the feelings mean nothing. That's why you don't try and fix them or change them. They mean nothing. Now, the problem is we're all identified as it and we think this is my identity. It's not. And you will learn that's not your identity if you look at what the mind is doing and don't put any meaning on it.
Okay.
Because
But we're
it
still
is
gonna
an illusion.
we're still gonna walk through the dream and do what we need to do
The
from a
dream
place
figure is going to do what the dream figure
cookie.
does, but you're the
Cookie's
mind that's
gonna do.
dreaming all of this.
Right. Yeah.
So the dream figure is going to do what you dreamt the dream figure up to do. But what does that have to do with you? You are the quiet
Nothing.
center. You're the quiet center.
Okay.
All you have to do is stop putting a meaning on Cookie. You don't need to change her. You don't need to judge her. You don't need to fix her. You don't need to make her holy. You have to stop putting meaning on her. And each time you do that, you taste an identity that has nothing to do with a dream character.
Okay. So you really don't need to do anything in the dream.
I need do nothing. The dream character is going to do whatever the dream character is scripted to do. You
Okay.
need to stop making the dream real.
Yeah.
And you get to witness the dream character doing what it's scripted to do. But what does it have to do with you?
Sorry. Yes. Okay, Keith.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Right, Marina, we'll sneak you in just as the last one.
Okay, thank you. I heard somewhere that there's a difference between waking up within the dream and waking up from the dream.
Yes.
You mentioned like when we're sleeping at night, if we're a lucid dreamer, we're aware that we're dreaming when we're sleeping at night. Would you say that if we're seeing things with the Holy Spirit, that
That's
we're
lucid
the
dreaming. Yes.
lucid dreaming within the
Yes.
dream?
Yes.
What does it mean to wake up from the dream?
In the Course, Jesus says, we cannot speak, nor write, nor even think of this at all.
Okay. So
Okay,
that's
so,
something that
so your
God,
reality outside the dream is unspeakable. It's beyond words. Okay, because outside there are no words. Okay, there's no separateness. There is a oneness, love, knowing itself and extending itself for all eternity. We can say that. That still doesn't, in the Course, Jesus says we cannot speak, nor write, nor even think of this at all. In the Tao, they say the Tao that is spoken is not the real Tao. They say the one who knows doesn't speak, the one who speaks doesn't know. Okay, so this is outside of concepts, because concepts are an element of the dream. This is outside of perception, because perception is part of the dream. Outside the dream, there is no such thing as a perceiver and a perceived.
right,
Okay,
right. So we basically leave the dream. We
that's
leave
what. Yeah, so Jesus calls these senseless musings, trying to understand reality outside the dream.
Right.
So that's pointless, right? However, so when I join with the Holy Spirit, when I'm lucid dreaming, I understand this is a dream. I understand the voice doing what it's doing in my mind is a dream and it doesn't mean anything. And I experience the quiet center that we are in the Holy Spirit. And what I am, everyone is. This full emptiness that I am, emptiness of meaning, is the emptiness that is appearing as everything and everyone in the dream. Now, I can say, that emptiness, I can say nothing about it. Okay, so what I can say is, in the dream, heaven is appearing as what's apparently happening without ever ceasing to be heaven. Okay, so what I can say is, a great mystery that nothing can be said about is appearing as a world that means nothing without ever ceasing to be itself. But nothing inside the dream can know what's outside the dream. That's why we need the Holy Spirit. Okay? Because God knows nothing about the dream, and outside the dream, there's only God. Okay? So within the dream, we can say nothing about what reality is, what God is. But what we can do is we can look on the dream and know it means nothing.
No, it means nothing.
And what's looking is the identity in the dream that reflects reality outside the dream. So reality outside the dream is oneness. It is oneness joined as one. There's no perception. There's no consciousness in it. It cannot be countenanced within the dream. And so that's why Jesus keeps calling it senseless musings. And so, but within the dream, I can be what knows the dream is a dream. What knows the dream is the dream knows itself, this one mind, as what is appearing as everything and everyone without ever ceasing to be this one mind. That's the real world. Everything here and here everywhere. No self apart from anything else. That's within the dream. That's the reflection in the dream of heaven outside the dream. But we can say nothing about outside the dream. So our only job is to look on the dream knowing it's only a dream.
Right. What a
And
relief.
and that will lead to the end of the dream. So from the place where I know there's just oneness only appearing as a dream without ever ceasing to be oneness, from that space, the real world, there can be an awakening completely from the dream, but we can say nothing about that. So we don't try and skip steps. You know, people become obsessed with this idea about consciousness, and we can't be talking about consciousness and blah, blah, blah. This is consciousness. Consciousness is the tiny mad idea. Outside the tiny mad idea that's consciousness, there's just God, and we can say nothing about it. And we can't jump there. All we have to do is know the dream is a dream.
Right.
And that's all we do. And then the end of consciousness, the awakening from the tiny mad idea, that happens automatically at the very end. But our only job is to look on the dream as a dream, which means our only job is to allow thoughts to be thoughts,
Yeah.
without putting a meaning on them, to allow feelings to be feelings without putting a meaning on them. That's all we have to do to awaken from the dream. We don't have to fix thoughts. We don't have to fix feelings. We don't have to change them. That's flypaper. All we have to do is allow feelings to be feelings without saying they mean something. Allow thoughts to be thoughts without saying they mean something. Now you are judging not, and you can awaken from the dream.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very clear. Thank you.
Thanks, Marina. Guys, thanks a million for your attention. We shall do it all again next week. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I hope you got something useful out of today.
Thank you,
Thanks so
Keith.
much,
Thank you so
Keith.
much,
Bye,
Keith.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.